Hi everyone, I'm Pop Tart.
And I'm Miss Serotonin.
And welcome to Tea Time with Bob and Sarah. Aww! I can't do it. My tongue's not wooden like you.
Hey Hens, welcome to Tea Time with Bob and Sarah. On this episode, we're going to be talking about LGBT plus movies and TV shows.
Honestly, Hen, the best movies, the best TV shows. Love it!
Oh, that's homophobia from a train.
Hen, honestly.
Rude.
But no, there is so many LGBT plus movies in TV, and like, I just love the representation that some of them give as well.
Oh yeah, it's sometimes it's quite hard to find, but when you get there, then some are really good.
Oh yeah, and like these straight people who were like,
oh, you shouldn't have done that for us. Oh, there's too much gay people on TV.
And it's like, Hen.
Do you remember when we went to that free speech meeting?
Oh my god.
And the guy was like, why is there an LGBT section on Netflix? I was like...
It's like, for one thing, Hen, it's literally like 3/4 down the page. You have to really...
Oh yeah, you have to find it.
It's like when you're on Gay MailTube and you're trying to find the right porn category and you're like, no, where's domination? I don't know. But, it's like that sort of shit. So like when he was like, oh, they shove it down our throats, and it's like, no, honestly, you can choose to watch it or not. It's like the amount of times I've seen like straight couples make out on TV. It's so boring. They're usually just some unseasoned chicken kind of people.
We're shoving it down our throat. Oh, like the gay agenda. You don't see me knocking on your door giving you the works of Elton John, do you? So, I will say one of my favourite LGBT shows has got to be Sensei on Netflix.
Yeah, I do like that.
The overall representation, I mean, there's gays, there's a trans character, there's like a bi character, like, but it's done in and it's made by the Wachowski sisters that used to be the Wachowski brothers, and they transitioned, and they did The Matrix, obviously. But the way that it's written in such a way that it doesn't feel like an afterthought. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and the storyline, oh my god, best program I've ever seen. It's so good. They cancelled it, arseholes.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
There was like a petition. Was that a sports fan?
I know, I'm masked now, look at me. So masked.
But they cancelled it, and then like within like 24 hours there was like 1 million signatures on this petition for them to bring it back, so they did like a 2.5 hour film.
I know, I remember that. And my favourites, and like, I'm gonna go way back again. Like, love it. My favourite thing, one of my favourite movies ever, Paris is Burning.
I've never seen it.
So, with Paris is Burning, like obviously in Drag Race now, and we're not going to talk about Drag Race in this episode, even though it's a big LGBT TV show.
Yeah, but we're going to save it for another episode.
Yeah, so stay tuned. But Paris is Burning, like RuPaul's Drag Race, of all the things like category is and stuff like reading is fundamental, everything like that comes from Paris is Burning, and like that whole sort of ball culture and stuff like documentary, but it's so good because it like talks about not just kind of like sort of the drag scene and things like that, but the struggles that like sort of LGBT and like particularly trans individuals faced in that. It was really sad in part of it when Venus Extravaganza, because obviously if they were going to transition, because they were seen as less desirable in society, they'd have to like go into prostitution and sex work, a lot of them, and she ended up getting murdered unfortunately, but it's whilst the documentary was being filmed, but so amazing. I'm conscious that I'm talking way too fast.
Is that what's like inspired Pose?
Yes, that's what I'm going to get onto as well.
Oh yeah, no, look at me, I know how to do segues. Professional, I've got a lapel mic.
What do you mean segue?
It's called a segue. When you transition from one topic to another seamlessly.
Yeah, Pose is based off that whole kind of like thing, like sort of like ball culture, but also talking about the sort of HIV epidemic of like the 80s and how that like gay men, trans women, and particularly sort of like trans women of colour, sort of like the struggles they faced.
Yeah.
And it's like, it talks about all sort of legendary houses and things like that, and the costumes are brilliant. But I think the real key thing you take from it is sort of like the ups and downs of how their sort of lifestyle and the way they live and the things they have to do to live. And it makes you look at it and think, like, those people paved the way for the rights that we have today. And it really annoys me when these people, like, younger gay men, right, here's my rant.
PSA from Pop Tart.
Here's my piece. Like, it really gets my absolute tits when you get these younger sort of like gay
Twinks.
people, younger twinks especially, and like just younger gay people, LGBT plus people in general, like they literally are so like horrible to like older generation of their sort of like that sort of like ilk of LGBT plus. They're the fucking ones who paved the way, so you could get smashed on MDMA at Pride and drink your Sambuca and throw up on someone's cock. So
T though, what annoys me about it more than anything is know your history.
yeah.
Like, know where you came from. Like, I'm not saying I'm an expert. I'm really not. I can barely remember what I had for breakfast this morning. Like,
You don't have any breakfast
exactly.
You're skinny.
I'm skinny. But it really bugs me when people are like, their only perception of LGBT is from like Drag Race.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, learn your history. Like, what really bugged me is like somebody said to me once, you should be thankful to the Conservative government because they signed legislation. So I went, no, I'm thankful for a trans black woman throwing a brick. That's who started the LGBT rights movement. Like, Martha P. Johnson is like one of the original trailblazers.
Yeah.
Like, trans black women have done so much. Trans people in general have done so much for our community.
Yeah.
And they're always ostracised and pushed to the side. And I'm like, no, know your history. Like,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. PSA from Pop and Sarah.
Well, that's the thing, like, with this the fucking government as well. We're not almost done with the PSA. Almost done with the PSA.
It's our political session for the week.
But like literally, when the Conservative government, like people saying like, oh, they signed legislation, that was put in place. They just happened to be in power when they could sign
Exactly.
it. Like the amount of people, like Anne Whitaker, Margaret Thatcher voted against any sort of rights for us. We were seen as lesser human beings. So fuck you, Tories.
T.
Vote Green.
Look for this segue. Talking about Margaret Thatcher, one of my favourite LGBT films is Pride.
Yes.
Like, look at that segue. That was genius.
Honestly.
So, obviously, Pride is about the miners, isn't
Yeah,
it? And then
miners'
the
strike.
miners' strike when Margaret Thatcher was in power, and then like a group of like gay and lesbians join to like raise money for the miners.
Yeah.
I cried.
Well, it's because obviously they're both kind of like ostracised
By
groups, and
community.
they support each other, and like they go to those little sort of like community centres in Wales, like that
Yeah,
little
it
community
is
hall.
such a great film.
It is so cute.
Everyone's a
Because-
lesbian at heart.
But also, I think
that's not even the tune, but
I also think it's really, really sad too, because obviously like it's bittersweet.
I wept.
Yeah.
Like, I was in tears. I've seen it like 3 times.
Yeah, same with
Every
me.
single time I've seen it, I cry.
Yeah, it's just like it shows the sort of harsh realities of like the HIV epidemic,
It
and I think people
ruined our
still.
community.
Yeah.
And it still does. Like the stigma
Yeah.
around it.
I think a lot of people do forget how really bad it was for like LGBT plus individuals at that point in time, and that's why I like the fact that the sort of movies are really being sort of made and put into public view, because it really highlights
Yeah.
the sort of shit that people went through.
It's starting to become more. I hate to use the term, but normal. Like, it's more normalised in like society now. Like, even like things like American Horror Story. It's one of my favourite TV shows, and you wouldn't really necessarily say that that's an LGBT show, but the representation within it is there.
Yeah.
And this is what gets me when people are like, oh, we can't have a show about just gays or just trans people. Why not?
Or
They exist. Like, soz hen, they exist.
We exist.
Like,
we exist.
it's ridiculous. Oh, we could.
I'm getting real militant today, I tell you.
Honestly, like they say, like, oh, we couldn't have a group of like all just like gay people friends for a TV show. I'm like, all of my friends are LGBT,
Yeah.
besides Henry.
I would absolutely watch a reality show with all of us in it as well.
Like-
that'd be hilarious. Which is
With
so
who?
funny. With all of us in it, or like our friends.
House of Hex, the show.
Can you imagine?
Could you imagine the monstrosity of that show?
Honestly.
It'd be me and you fighting each other every 5
It would-
seconds
it
and then
would-
apologise.
It would replace Dracula season 3, because where the fuck's that? Like,
There's
that's another.
Dracula season 3.
Speaking of Dracula,
Segue.
I'm learning. I love Dracula. Obviously, like we say, we're going to talk about Drag Race in the
In
next
another episode, but we can talk about Dracula.
Yeah, Dracula, absolutely adore it. So Boulet Brothers, if you don't know what it is, the Boulet Brothers basically have made a separate pageant for drag monsters, and it is just
the tea.
the tea, like all this amazing sort of like FX makeup and costume art and like
It's
expression.
mad.
And like some of the queens in it are just unfucking believable.
It's so out there, and it's literally like they've got Drag Race and gone. Whoop.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good.
The thing is, when I was like, I've always wanted to kind of dabble in this style of sort of drag, but by watching Dragula, it kind of pushed me to be like, yeah, I can do that and people will appreciate it.
Again, it's representation. It's going, look, you're not mad. I mean, you are.
Yeah.
But, like, you're welcome. You know, there's still... It's literally, and this is going to sound like so somber, we're talking on quite hard-hitting topics, but when you're growing up and you don't see any representation for who you are, you're like, oh, so I'm wrong. You don't even entertain the idea that no, it's the other way round. Society's wrong. And then when you get older, you go, actually, no, there's nothing wrong with this. I can't help the way I am. I was born this way, baby.
I born this way on iTunes.
My art pop on iTunes.
But that's the thing when people say representation, like with shoving like our agenda down the throat, there's too much sort of LGBT people on TV. It's very important to have that representation. If you're like you said, as a sort of like a young gay man, like not sure like of who you are,
it's
and sort of
scary.
Like it's awful. And like having that, knowing that someone's been successful and living like amazing life and living just a life, even if it's just fictitious, like
great words.
Yeah.
Great
fictitious.
I'm proud of that.
It helps you like a lot of people out.
Yeah, and you don't have to like. This is what upsets me as well. Like on this is that when there's like the token character, like not massive spoilers, but little mini spoilers for Avengers Endgame, right? They were hyping it up. I mean, what the film started in what, like 2003. With Iron Man or something, or whatever. It's been like 11 years of films, and there's never been an open gay character. They've never even mentioned anything about gay people within the universe, like they didn't exist, right? And in Avengers Endgame, there's literally a little bit, and they built this up so much. And then the game hurt, and they built it up, and then it's literally this guy like talking to Captain America that goes, "Oh yeah, I was going on a date with my boyfriend." And that's it. And I literally turned to Rio and went, are you fucking kidding me? Like, is that it?
Like, woo, gay extra.
And it was. And I was like, no. That is when it becomes tokenism.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the problem. When you do it because you want views or you want a hit, that's not the tea. You know, make them as fleshed out characters as you do your straight counterparts.
That's the thing, like, what I like about Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, is the fact of, like, there's not necessarily, like, tons of gay, there's a few gay characters in it, like, Titus is, like, one of the main characters, and people are like, oh, he's just a token gay character, but I don't think he is at all, because he's a fully fleshed out, complex character. Talks about his relationships in depth, his expression as a person, and the sort of, like, stuff he goes through.
And that's the same for Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but I know that the cop in charge is gay.
Yeah, and like, one of the others is bisexual.
Yeah,
I think.
And
bisexual. Yeah.
And the way that it's done again is not like gay character. It's like this character just happens to be gay.
Yeah, they don't wear some sort of like flashy
like a neon light.
Like margaritas at 6. That kind of shit.
It's ridiculous. Like, and I can't. It really bugs me when they. And it is a fine line, and you'll always find people within our community that like to whinge, that are never happy, that, you know, it's too tokenism, or, you know, they're just there for the ratings. That's not always true. Sensei, American Horror Story, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. They're all shows that just are very integrated with their characters, and it's done well. That's how you do it.
Speaking of kind of like having tokenism, but then going to the opposite end, where it's like flamboyant. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Never seen it. I love the fact that I was like, know your history, and there's 2 prominent films that I have not seen.
You need to watch Priscilla. So, do you know the premise of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, then?
Not really. No. I've heard about it, but I don't know what happens. Fill me in.
So basically, like, I watched it quite a while ago, but like they go, these drag queens go on a massive sort of like bus tour across the opposite end of Bussy, Australia, to do like a show at this kind of like big gig there, and it kind of talks about their sort of like struggles as LGBT people.
Is it a documentary?
No, it's a movie.
Oh, right, okay.
So there's like three main queens in it. There's one of them who's a trans person, and there's a really annoying queen who's like me like that. The trans one and the other queen like are literally like go at it or whatever. But it's just kind of like the sort of the adventures that ensue. Like the trans one gets with like this guy that falls in love with her who was with this like this Asian stripper. It's mad. And they end up going across kind of like the desert and going through all those things. It just kind of like, it's more of a sort of comedy, but also shows that kind of like the shit they go through like at that time as like Australian gay men.
So is it, I know it's not a documentary, but is it filmed as if it is?
No, it's filmed as if it's actually a feature-length movie.
Okay.
You'll probably know the actual thing of like, you know when they have that massive silver cape at the top of a bus and they drive the desert, that's what it's from.
Oh, T.
And like at the end of it, they end up going to the actual hotel, and like he actually has a kid, the gay man, with this woman, but they're like best friends, and it's so cute. It's really cute. And you know the song Finally, where it's like, finally it is happening to me. Like that's in it, and like they dress up as like Australian like animals and all sorts of fabulous costumes. It's like, it is tea.
Is it on Netflix?
Is it on Netflix?
Tea!
I'm gonna watch it again.
Right. Tea time homework for me and you. Watch Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
And Paris is Burning is also on Netflix, I think.
Tea, and comment below what you thought of the film.
All 2 comments we'll get. There are so many like LGBT like plus movies and stuff. Like if we miss any out and you go, why have you talked about that? We're not fucking telepaths, hon. Like, you know, piss off.
2 new things just came out on Netflix. And they're like little short mini-series called Special and Bonding.
I didn't like Special very much.
Special I liked, but it was too short.
It was underdeveloped.
It needs another season, and it needs a little bit more production value.
Yeah.
Like it's almost as if Netflix were like, yeah, sure you can do it, but here's a check and don't spend any more kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Whereas Bonding, which like Special, I had to watch in increments. I couldn't, because it was just a bit tedious to me. Bonding, oh my god, I binge watched it in like 3 hours. It was so good. It's so funny, and do you know what it's about?
What, sorry?
Bonding.
No.
It's on Netflix. It's like a mini series, and it follows this college student, and she in her part-time is a dominatrix, like a mistress, and it's because she's a fucking cock destroyer. Fuck off! Sunday's a day of rest, but not for me. Right, so she's a mistress in like her spare time to put herself through college.
Yeah.
And one of her friends from like way back in the day, like childhood friends, ends up being a PA, like for the mysteries, and it is so good. Just watch it, honestly. It is so good, and it's so funny, and it's done again in a way that it's not like, oh, this show's about gay people, because it's really not. There just happens to be a gay character. And the episodes are like 14 to 20 minutes long each, so
that's an easy one.
It's really easy to watch. It's so good. And if you Netflix, I know you're not watching, but I'm gonna at you. Do series 2 of Bonding. I don't really care about Special, but do Bonding.
No, I don't know about Special either.
It was so good.
I tell you what though, speaking of fucked up things, Party Monster is another documentary. Like, a lot of why the sort of drag I do, obviously like, I am still building my drag and I want to push it more extreme, but why I do, I know it's already a bit extreme now, but like, the reason why I do this sort of drag and sort of like put it out there and push myself is that sort of that documentary and the people in that.
What does it follow?
So basically it talks about the club kid scene of the sort of like 80s and 90s.
America.
Yeah, America. So that all people like James St. James, Lee Bowery, RuPaul, even Vivacious makes a brief appearance. And like talks about how like the limelight and how like Michael Alig, like Alec, I don't know, he's a convict anyway, so whatever. I'll get onto that. But like how they basically sort of like turned around the party scene after Andy Warhol's death.
Right.
So it sort of really revitalised it with like the crazy costumes. There's like amazing parties like Disco 2000, obviously everything at Limelight. But like Party Monster just like follows all kind of like the sort of shit they do, like all the drugs and stuff like that. But then like the actual documentary talks about the fact of like Michael Alig, I can't say it right, just say Ali. basically murders like a drug dealer along with this other person, and it's about the cover up of all that. And basically the reason that whole club kid kind of thing ended was because of that murder. Brilliant, but it's fucked up. But it's a big part of kind of like LGBT culture in
History,
that sense.
yeah. There's.
If you think some of the people that we've seen in the clubs do drugs, honestly, watch that documentary.
Honestly.
Like, it's heavy duty in that sense, hon. Like, they basically just down bleach, essentially. Like, they don't do that, but they might fucking well. Like, the amount of shit they put in
Very
their body.
extreme.
It is. I mean,
I should watch it.
obviously, the sort of look I do is extreme like that, but I don't do, like, drugs or anything like that. Like, no.
Oh,
My
God,
body's
no.
a temple that monkeys shit on that's falling apart.
That's the thing.
Have you got any more movies and stuff you want to talk about?
Not really. I think we've mentioned quite a lot. I think that
there's a lot we haven't mentioned.
Yeah,
but it's like, there's
obviously-
only so much we can fucking say.
exactly. So all I would say is that watch Priscilla Queen of the Desert, watch Bonding, and
Paris is
watch
Burning.
Paris is Burning.
And know your history.
I will
And
too.
if you're one of those queens who's horrible to
Baboons.
older queens and thinks, oh, look how busted that panto dame is, they're the ones who paid the fucking way, honey. And they're a
Literally.
massive part of our culture. So piss off.
Absolutely. So
Oh, I'm well angry today.
you
I
are. That
I'm well angry today.
What you need to do is you need to like, subscribe, and comment down below what your favourite LGBT movies are, and if they're good enough, we'll watch them.
Yeah. And we'll have a little sort of like catch up in a future episode.
Yeah,
Like
tea.
shit we've learned whilst doing this.
That's tea, because we've probably learnt a lot because we're stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next
See you
time.
soon.
Bye. That was a good one. Is my rusty out on camera?
I mean, now, yeah.
What about now?
No, your leg kind of come. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
But full on.
Oh, my son fell.